Look who's talking. You're the one who gets to kiss my sister on the lips every night. These are the words spoken by Terry Brothers, the protagonist of the film Brothers-in-Law. The movie, directed by Peter Peters and written by George Allen, stars Robert De Niro as Terry Brothers and Al Pacino as Stevie's sisters, two brothers-in-law lawyers battling in court and for a sister's love. This film has been forgotten. Until now. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Okay.
In my apartment, I have this mouse.
Like a literal mouse?
Like a literal mouse, and he has been sort of crawling around behind my computer desk, and he's been nibbling at the wires.
Oh! Wait, really?
And he's been taking these wires, and he's been sort of plugging them into each other, and he's been doing these experiments down there.
Oh, so he's like a wicked smart mouse.
He's a really smart mouse, but I don't know what he's trying to do down there.
Well, maybe he's trying to just mess with you. I feel like that he's achieving his goal.
Yeah, I think that honestly might be it, because he's down there and he's just plugging them in, but I don't know what his sort of end game is.
Didn't you say he like snickers and then he like runs away?
Yeah, like a little giggle, and then he skateboards off. But he's wearing a lab coat, too.
Wait, this mouse is obviously way smarter than you.
I know.
That's why he's getting away with it.
He's tricking me all the time. And I've laid out traps for him. They don't work.
Do you have like the humane ones or the scary ones?
I've gotten both kinds. And the humane one, he filled it with water, he turned it into a pool.
Why? Is a humane one like a pool? Is that what it is?
Well, he took the top off of it and he filled it up with warm water, I guess. I woke up in the morning, there was a diving board attached and
Oh my God.
lap lanes.
He did renovations on your
on my trap.
Kind trap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I feel like he's winning. I'm not on his side, but I'm not,
You're not rooting against him.
I'm not rooting against him because I feel like he's the underdog in this situation. I've never had a mouse in any dwelling I've lived in.
Oh, really? That's lucky for you. This one, you definitely don't want this one. This one there's something wrong with him. Anyway, welcome to Forgotten Films. I'm Simon Johnston. Today we have Sarah Poirier. She does some comedy stuff. And we're going to be talking about a movie. But right up top, Sarah, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite movie, and have you ever been to Hollywood?
My favorite movie is A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints. It's with Shia LaBeouf and Robert Downey Jr., and it's a very serious movie, but I really love it. Funny movies, I love Bridesmaids. And have I been to Hollywood? Yes, I have.
And you've met Shia LaBeouf, isn't that right?
Yeah. He is so much more normal in person than the vibe he gives off in the media.
He just kind of puts on airs a little bit, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I think it's all a show. Because we had a totally normal conversation, and he invited me over to his house, and we like hung out and played dominoes, and it was totally normal.
What version of dominoes?
Just the one where you put the numbers the one where you just stack them and then let them fall. We made like a huge, so we didn't really play dominoes, but we played with them.
But you had a play date with Shia and you built up the dominoes and you let them kind of fall around his apartment.
Yes. Wow. It was very normal. And he was like totally sober. I feel like he has a bad rep for being, drunk or high or whatever, but he was like totally fine.
He was totally chill about it. And then you said you did go to Hollywood. You have been there?
Yes, I have been to Hollywood. I've been, I think, twice, maybe. Mm-hmm.
And did you hear that they switched the sign recently? That they switched the sign from Hollywood to Holly Boob and they got arrested? You heard about that?
Oh my God, they did get arrested, yeah.
And that was my idea originally.
Wait, that was your idea?
Well, I came up with it like 5 years ago. I was like, I'm going to go out there at some point in my life. I've only been once, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that.
You're so lucky that you didn't. You'd be in jail right now. Those guys got sentenced to like 40 years in prison.
I think that would have been a good reason to be in jail, though. I think everyone would have, when I walked into the prison, everyone would have cheered.
I know that you keep wanting to find a good thing to go to jail for. Like, you think this is like your, way to become infamous or famous or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just feel like you'll regret it the second you go behind those bars.
Maybe. I don't know. I hear that people who go to jail never regret anything. Because it's so much.
I've heard that too. I think that's, though, because they have to have like a fresh perspective because they're in jail. So it just makes it like you have to be like, no regrets. This is awesome. Because, like, what's your alternative? Like, kill yourself, I guess.
I guess.
And
I can edit anything out of the podcast that we want to be gone. That's a good thing about doing it yourself is you can do whatever you want.
You can just do whatever you want.
But Sarah, something maybe the listeners don't know that I sort of want to get into a little bit is you've been sort of helping me because, so for people who don't know, I've been writing my sort of magnum opus, which is the season cycles, and it is a 4-part film. It's going to be about 12 hours long, and it's split up into autumn, winter, spring, summer. And Sarah, you've been helping me because I can only write in coffee shops.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been helping me set up a coffee shop, basically.
Yeah, because of COVID. Well, so, yeah, I mean, right now it's kind of tricky because you're not allowed to sit and stay inside anywhere. So what we've been doing is kind of like we switch houses sometimes. So like I'll go hang out at Simon's house and he'll hang out at my house because it's like a change of scenery. But I set it up like a little barista station before I go. And then sometimes like he'll just come over and we'll work together, but I'll just like pretend to be the barista. Because I think, is that what it is? I think it's specifically the barista that you...
Yeah, it's definitely the barista. It's the barista and it's also the smell. And you did a good job. You know all sort of the big players in the coffee industry, something that maybe people don't know about you.
Yeah.
You know the Beans Brothers.
I know the Beans Brothers. I know the Colombianos. I know the
La
Dark
Colombe.
Roasters. La Colombe, I know all the guys in the bean industry.
And the Starbucks mermaid. There's a woman who works in it too.
Have you met her? Oh, so she is a darling. She's really
so
like
sweet.
her. So she's actually the daughter of the founder. She's like family.
Yeah.
She's family.
Howard Schultz fucked the mermaid.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. Married her.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I think he doesn't like to say it like that because it's like his wife now.
So he says married. He doesn't say fuck.
Yeah, I think he thinks of it as like I married a mermaid, not like I fucked a mermaid and then had my child.
And Howard Schultz did unify sea and land, the throne of Atlantis with the throne of man. We walk on 2 feet. But yeah, Sarah, you've been sort of helping me out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been helping you out. I like to think it as like I'm a partner in your creative process. So, remember me down the road when you finally get
this thing made. Yeah. It takes a village.
Yeah, when you get this thing made. Yeah, it takes a village. And honestly, I'm bored as heck. So it's fun. I set up a little coffee shop. I feel like I'm playing house, except coffee
You're
shop.
Working at the...
Yes, I'm working in a coffee shop. It always sounds so luxurious to do something that you don't do. Like, I'm sure working in a coffee shop isn't fun, but like to me it sounds so fun because I don't do it every day.
You basically own your own coffee shop.
Yeah, I basically own my own
way.
And I mean, because you've been coming over so often, I have so many appliances now. Like, because I started out with just the French press, but now I have an espresso machine, and now I have that one pour over that just takes like 4 minutes and you just have to sit there. I have so many little gadgets now, so I feel like it's a real little spot.
And I want to just say up top, if anyone is listening and does need pumpkin spice syrup, you have a lot of that because you do put in orders for as though you were a coffee shop. So you're only serving me once a day, basically, but you do put in orders as though you were an active coffee shop in New York City.
Yes, so I have a ton of stuff. So... I mean, like, honestly, I think it's just because deep down I know it's what I'm going to do eventually. Like, I'm basically just building a business for when things open back up because I have so much.
In your house.
I have so much in my house. And I live in a studio apartment. So, I mean, I have a ton of beans. I have a ton of sweeteners. I have a ton of milk, which will go bad, but
pretty quick, yeah.
I'm trying to get used to the whole vendor management thing. So, I just want to make sure
That's the toughest part is the logistics.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I know how to manage like the supply that I'll need, and then like the rest of it will come. I'm a natural shop owner. I feel like that.
And you have been kind of outsourcing it a little bit. You did hire an employee recently, Rolfie.
Yes. Oh,
And he's such a sweetheart.
he
Yeah.
is such a sweetheart. So he's 17. He is a junior in high school, and he is looking for some money, like after school and stuff like that. And he just comes by the house, and he works a couple hours a day. He's not allowed to do certain times on the weekends too because he's under 18. But he is such a little gem. He works really hard, and I can't wait till I have a real physical space so I can actually give him, the feeling of that real first job. Not just like
More
us
room
two
to
in my
run.
studio apartment. More room to run, stretch his legs, grow,
Because he
become,
does do that in the coffee shop. Like in your
Yeah.
so I'll come in, I'll sit down, get to my writing.
Yeah, so he is,
And he'll start
he
running
is a
around.
sprinter. Yeah, so he actually is he's ranked nationally as a sprinter for his high school. So he runs super fast, and part of that I guess is you always have to be consistently moving. So he just sometimes sprints throughout the house, but again, studio apartment, it's not, ideal for a workout, but
Yeah. And
I
he
think
has
he gets it done.
a very low center of gravity, and he is basically 5 feet tall, but his legs are I mean, it's like a horse's legs, this guy.
Yeah, he has horse legs and a very short body. His
Yeah.
torso is tiny because of the whole leg thing. And I think that's why he's so fast. There's something about being low to the ground that keeps him like he's just a gazelle. I don't know how he does it. But Rolfie's a great kid. Oh my God. If you guys, if anyone needs help in your store, no, actually, no.
you
Why
wanna
am I
keep him
saying
to
that?
yourself.
I want to keep him. I'm not giving out his info.
Yeah, definitely.
Ugh.
But
What
if
a
anyone
guy.
sees a little apple-cheeked young boy with red hair and freckles and huge legs out on the street, make sure you tip your hat
That's
to him
Ralphie.
because
Tip
he
your
is.
hat to him. He's a good boy. He is a good boy.
And he gets tips, but he only gets tips if he puts the cream in the coffee for me the right way, because I like it a very specific way.
I know you are so specific about your cream. You make him whip it before he puts it in.
He whip it before it puts it in, then microwave it so it gets back to liquid form, and then drip it in because I like it warm.
and
But I drink
you
iced
really,
coffee.
You insist that it tastes so different.
It
I
does.
don't taste the difference, but I guess you have a more sophisticated palate than I do.
Well, it's the air. It's the New York City air imbues the cream with a different flavor. So if you're just drinking the normal cream here in New York City, it's just going to taste like cream anywhere else you are. But if you do drink the cream
That's
with a little
true.
bit of that classic New York City air in it, it does taste a little more gritty and like garbage, which I do like because I like a little character.
And is it New York specific, or is it
It is New York.
all major cities? Okay.
It's New York specific. It's New York
Because
specific.
I know when you're in Chicago, you still make them do it.
Well, that's just because I like for them to do it. I
Well,
want them-
no, I mean, I get
the
it. You get it in
ritual.
a routine. Yeah, it's like a little, you got to do your habits.
And they do
Just
earn the
saying.
tips. They have to earn the tips when I'm there.
Yeah, you're very strict about earning your tip.
Yes. So you're either whipping my cream for me, or if we're in another restaurant, you're singing like we're at Cold Stone, even if it's not a Cold Stone.
See, that I don't get, because you know what ends up happening though? Every time we go out to eat, they just end up singing you happy birthday. Because the restaurant people don't know how to do other songs. Cold Stone, they train for that. They know this is the song we sing when this happens. But
I love that one.
this is the song we sing when this happens. But at Olive Garden or Outback or whatever other chain restaurant we're at, they just do happy birthday.
To be fair to the Outback Steakhouse, they will do it in an Australian accent. And one of
Wait,
them will be
really?
playing the didgeridoo, yes.
What? That's never happened to me. And I literally went there every year for my birthday as a child.
You
And
probably
they've
not go to the
never
right
sang.
one.
Well, I guess not.
Do they
I
put the
went to
can?
one.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
No, go ahead. You go.
I was going to say, do they put the candles in the bloomin' onion for you?
No. Do they do that for you?
They did it for me even when it's not my birthday.
Well, but that's because you always make them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
But
I
you
mean, I
have to
guess I could
ask.
have made them. Yeah, I guess I didn't ask.
That's sort of
That's
the
what I've
secret
learned
of
about
life.
in life.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that's what I was
Yes,
just gonna
yes,
say.
yes.
Oh, it really is. You gotta ask. You don't get anything you don't ask for.
You don't get any free lunches, and you definitely don't get any candles in your bloomin' onion unless you
No.
ask for it.
No.
Before we get into this movie, which I just freaking loved this thing.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to know what you think is better. Is it movie or book?
Oh, book. I mean, book is always better.
Okay.
I can't lie to you, you know. Book
And
is
I don't
always
want
better.
you to.
And
Book
I
is
don't
always
want
better.
you and I don't want you to want me to. But here's the thing. The book is always better. And I think that that's okay because they're two totally different types of thing. They're It's like apples and bananas. You can't compare the two.
You can't compare them because one is paper bound into a movie. Basically, a book is like a movie written down on paper and bound and then sold at Barnes and Noble, whereas
Yes.
a movie is like a book that's on
Yes.
somehow projected on the screen. I still don't know how they do it onto the screen at AMC
They
or on
have,
your
like,
TV.
electronic ways to do it.
Yeah, somehow they get the electricity on the screen to make picture.
They make picture.
Somehow they do
But
that.
also, I think it affects it because I read the book first, right? If I had seen the movie first, maybe that would be different. But like I had read the book 10 years ago. So this movie just came out, you know. This book has been living in my mind for the past 10 years. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions about it.
So the book and the movie we're obviously talking about is, of course, Brothers-in-Law. Mm-hmm. It's a 1998 film. It's directed by Peter Peters and written by George Allens. It stars Robert De Niro as Terry Brothers, Al Pacino as Stevie Sisters, and Michelle Pfeiffer as Martha Brothers Sisters. And basically, this movie, we really liked it. I loved it. I don't know. You said you liked the book better than the movie.
I like the book better than the movie, but I loved the movie.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically these guys in 1988. It's the top of their game, right?
Yeah.
These two guys. Basically, it's about two brothers-in-law who are both lawyers,
Yes.
and they end up going against each other in court.
Oh, it's like it's the funniest emotional movie I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's hard to do both, and this movie just really, it does it.
Well, when you're talking in a 3.5-hour movie, you have a lot of room to sort of grow that
to go the ups and the downs, yeah. Well, it's crazy. So, I mean, the fact that it starts with, you know, a divorce trial for their parents.
Yeah.
Like so basically the movie is who plays the first lawyer?
So
Robert
it's
De Niro?
Robert De Niro as Terry Brothers and Al Pacino as Stevie Sisters.
Right. So Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are brothers-in-law, and they are both representing different
Parents.
spouses, different parents, yes, in this divorce trial.
Exactly.
And throughout the movie, there's just like flashbacks from their childhood and like growing up. And it's fascinating. You just learn so much about this family while also like crying, laughing during this trial.
Yeah, because obviously, of course, the beautiful and always wonderful and magnificent Michelle Pfeiffer plays Martha Brothers Sisters, who is Al Pacino's wife, Robert De Niro's sister. And so we see, and they were all childhood friends. Al Pacino obviously ends up marrying her because you can't marry your own sister. And they do make a point to show that in the movie that Robert De Niro did want to marry his own sister, but they tell him explicitly no.
He was like 10 at the time. It wasn't weird yet. I mean, it was like a little weird, but it was kind of cute because they were kids.
Yeah, it was like right at that age where it starts to
Where
get
it's
weird.
like,
Yeah.
well, it's like, and then I think
where you have to talk to him about it.
Yeah, he like grew up and he realized like, okay, this is weird. I shouldn't do this. But I think he just loved his sister. I don't think it was like a sex thing. I think it was more like a, you know, like I like you. I want to hang out with you all the time. Why don't we get married? I think that was more the situation.
Yeah, why don't we get married? But they end up sort of hanging out all together anyway because Al Pacino marries Martha Brothers Sisters, which is Robert De Niro, Terry Brothers' sister.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right.
And so, like you were saying, it shows all these flashbacks to when they were younger.
Yes.
And we see a very important scene by the Old Creek in the Bronx.
The Old Creek, yeah. The Old Creek. Oh my God. Well, so so basically there's this creek, right? And
it's a very old creek.
It's a very old creek. And we see the brother and the sister try to cross the creek and, you know, they're not able to because it's so old. And they use this log and they pull it all the way across and they're trying to get across and Michelle Pfeiffer's character starts walking across and the log breaks. And then she goes, "It's just like Bridge to Terabithia."
Which hadn't been invented yet.
Which hadn't been invented yet. But it's like she knew, and the brother like swoops in and saves her.
Robert De Niro, Terry Brothers
Robert De
swoops
Niro,
in.
yeah, saves her. And it's so emotional. It's just such a good scene.
Well, what's interesting about it too
it.
is it reveals a little bit, foreshadows a little bit into Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's relationship, because Al Pacino, meanwhile, while Terry Brothers, Robert De Niro, saves his sister, Martha Brothers' sister, Michelle Pfeiffer, Al Pacino, Stevie Sisters, is sitting on the sidelines there, folding his arms and going, harumph, humph. Ha, I don't like that. Because he wanted to be the one to save Michelle Pfeiffer because he's in love with her.
Yes. Well, which is crazy because I think that, like, he ends up getting her in the long run, right? I mean,
of course, because he's not her brother.
Because he's not her brother. But the point I think that scene was trying to make is just how much the brother loved her. And I think Al Pacino was being a little bit of a bitch in that scene, if we're being honest.
Oh,
I mean,
for
not
sure.
Al Pacino, because it's played by that little boy from Modern Family. I forget his
Well,
name.
it's played by Eric Stone Street as a little boy from Modern.
Yes,
He's
yes,
Eric Stone Street from Modern
Wait,
Family
yeah,
as a
'cause
little
this is
boy in '88. Yeah.
88. Well, because originally you said 98, but I
Oh,
think that
did
was
I?
a mistake.
Yeah, that was my mistake.
That's okay. I forgive you. But so 88, yeah, because Eric Stone. Oh my God, did you know Eric Stone Street? I think was originally auditioning for a different role, and then they ended up having him audition for that role that he got in Modern
I
Family.
think he was he auditioning for Phil Dunphy?
He might have been, because he was, yes. I don't think he was originally auditioning for the role that he was cast in.
Yeah, I think he was auditioning for Phil Dunphy. And this isn't, I don't know if this is bad to say, but he isn't gay in real life. And obviously
I was
plays.
thinking it, but also for some reason didn't know if it was bad to say, but I think it's okay because it's just a true fact about him.
If anything, it's worse that he pretends to be gay in that way all the time.
If anything, he's the one that's fucked up, not us, because we're just stating facts. He happens to not be gay in real life, but he plays a gay character on TV. Like, very funny, very well, but he was not originally, I don't think, going to be cast for that role. I think he was auditioning for
But
that.
as you mentioned, the kids are all played by the current day Modern Family parents. So you have Eric Stone Street as Al Pacino.
Yes.
You have
because that's where they met. That's where they all met the director, and then he ended up recasting them much later in life
as the parents in Modern Family. So it's just a little bit of a tie-in. You have Ty Burrell as Robert De Niro's character, Terry Brothers, and then of course you have Sofia Vergara as little Martha Brothers' sisters.
Yes.
But it doesn't really work with her because at this point she didn't know how to speak English.
Yeah.
So she was reading off the cue cards that you could see.
Yeah, I would do an impression of her, but I think it would be
no.
inappropriate, so I won't.
Yeah,
but
it would be bad as Eric Stone Street being gay on the TV.
Pretending to be a gay man. Yeah, I mean, we all think that. No, I don't know. He seems like a nice guy.
He seems fine.
But he seems fine.
I want to get him on the show.
Oh my God, you should. Don't you have an in? I thought you knew his brother.
I think I do know his brother. I don't know. I'm not sure. I know a guy who looks a lot like him, and I think it's his brother, but I haven't worked with the courage.
Well, you
to
said
ask.
his last name is Stone Street, and he looks just like him. So
well, I
sure
lied about that. I think I said I lied about knowing his last name. I don't know.
You did? Why would you lie about that?
Because I wanted to seem cooler than I am.
You know I don't like liars. I hate when people are dishonest. It's like my biggest pet peeve.
I'm working up the courage to go ask him if his brother's Eric Stone Street and if he could put in a good word for me to get him on the show.
You should just buy him. Oh, I forgot. Well, because he goes to that bar you're always at, but I forgot we're not allowed to go to bars anymore. But next time we're allowed to go to bars, you should just buy him a drink and be like, hey, dude, what's up? Or I guess maybe then he'll think he's hitting on you. I don't know.
I am going to have to edit that part out of the podcast because, of course, this bar is a modern-day speakeasy where we're all not wearing the masks and we're dancing really close to each other.
Right.
Buying each other drinks.
Yes, I forgot.
Anyway, so they save... Robert De Niro saves his sister from the old creek as a child.
Yes.
Cut back to the courtroom. They're defending their parents. Each of them is defending one of the respective parents in court in the divorce. In court. And that's the main conflict.
That's the main, that's the crux of the movie.
And of course, the judge is played beautifully
by Judge Joe Brown.
By Judge Joe Brown, who before this wasn't a judge, he was an actor, and he became a judge after this movie. So that because he loved the role so much, he was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually just be this the rest of the time.
Which is kind of awesome. He totally did a pivot in his career because he enjoyed this movie so much. And I mean, he didn't really, it's not like he did a lot of actual judge work in the movie. It was mostly, lines.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like he was in the background doing the actual paperwork. But I think he just loved being the judge so much that, he like looked into it and then he decided to go down that path.
And of course, he still has the bug, right? Because he's in the TV show.
Oh,
so he still likes the attention.
He clearly still likes the attention. There's so many judges in the world, and only a few of them are on TV. It's like Judge Joe Brown, Judge Judy, Judge Millian from the People's Court.
Mm-hmm. That's a deep
and
cut.
I mean, she's the best of them all.
Did you say Judge
more famous
Janine
than the rest.
Pirro?
Judge Millian. I didn't say Judge. No, I did not. But she's another one.
But she doesn't do judging on court. She just throws looks. And
I was gonna say, what is her deal?
She's like a Fox News guy or lady.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you say guy and then?
I just said guy because when I say Fox News, because she's a woman.
Oh, I see.
When I think of Fox News, I'm just like a Fox News guy.
Men inherently, that's fine.
And that's not bad for me to do because it's their fault.
Because it's bad people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can be as mean as I want.
You can be as mean as you want.
Anyway, so the judge is played by Judge Joe Brown, who at this point, of course, was not a judge. He was an actor, and he became a judge later.
And he was hot. Can we just say he was so handsome? If you were into men, you would love him.
And they show him. There is a couple shots of him in the courtroom locker room and back where the employees get changed.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. All those scenes with him shirtless, I feel like weren't really necessary for the main plot. They definitely but they needed it for the movie because there was no hot scenes. Yeah. And I could look at Judge Joe Brown's abs for days. He was so hot.
Forget about it. The guy's a smoke show back then. And they didn't have a lot of sex in the movie, so they did include like a lot of scenes of Judge Joe Brown changing into his robe from his street clothes.
Yeah, which you would think. So typically, I just thought judges had street clothes and then they put the robe over it. But he had a totally different outfit.
See, I thought that the judge just walks around all day in the robe. And that's part of the job is you can never take the robe off.
Like you commute, like you're on the subway in the robe.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have seen
they
that
probably
before.
don't. They probably don't want them to because it would be dangerous. What if you put somebody away and then all of a sudden they see you on the train and they're unsure if that's you, but they know because you're in the robe.
And you have a name tag on.
You know what doesn't make any sense? When you see people in scrubs on the train, I think that's really gross because the whole point of scrubs is to keep germs like in
off
the
your
space.
Clothes. Yeah.
So if you're on the subway after a shift and you're in scrubs, the germs are everywhere.
The germs are all over the place.
And if you're taking the subway with scrubs on, you're bringing all those germs into the hospital. I've always thought that was insane.
That's crazy.
Unless you change your scrubs into different scrubs, then it's reasonable.
When you go to the mayor's office to get your permit to turn your studio apartment into official coffee shop after Corona's over, you do need to bring this up with him.
I will. I have a list of things I'm going to bring up with him.
Yeah. And whoever that is, it could be Mayor de Blasio, it could be Mayor Yang.
Oh,
whenever that happens.
Yang Gang over here. Oh my God. I want $1,000 a month.
I want $1,000 a month, and I want him to rename all the streets to different things.
Ooh.
Like one of the street names he thought up is Epic Bacon Avenue instead of Broadway.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
There's another one that is like So Clutch Terrace, which is another good one.
Instead of Park. Right?
And instead of Madison, it's going to be Doge. It's going to be Doge or Doge, however you say it.
So I think it's Doge.
It's Doge. He's going to name it Doge. And he is going to, of course, be replacing the Statue of Liberty head with the Reddit guy symbol, which is the little white.
That I'm not sure about. I just think it's going to take a lot of money, and I don't know if it's worth it. But the rest of the stuff I'm down for. I'm into it.
I'm into it.
I'm a Yang Gang fan.
Team Yang Gang. But anyway, these two guys are in the courtroom. They're defending their parents, respectively, in a divorce proceeding. And basically what they're fighting over at this point, they're so old, their parents.
Because they're all old. Yeah, the parents are super old at this point.
The parents are so old, and they're fighting over who gets buried in which grave.
Yes.
And the mom wants the left, the dad wants the right. And Judge Joe Brown is the one who has to sort all this out. And Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are fighting for their representative in court.
Yeah. And I think, it's kind of beautiful because both of the lawyers are like really passionate about their, what do you call it?
Their argument, their position.
Their argument, but their person's like want. They're like, this is what they want. I want this to happen. And they like truly believe that. So you're just watching this whole time and you're like, do I want the mom to win? Do I want the dad to win? Do I want like this to even continue? I want them to just come to a solution and be happy.
Please. But, and the thing is, you would think Al Pacino would have a little less of a motive here because he's outside of the family. Because it is Robert De Niro's parents.
But he's been around for so long that it's like he's one of the gang, Like he is involved. He feels like these are his parents.
Yeah, and of course Terry Brothers' father, Terry Brothers Sr., Robert De Niro's father, tells Stevie Sisters, Al Pacino, that he's like a son to him. And Robert De Niro overhears this in the home. Because Robert De Niro popped in to use the bathroom before he drove off. And he overheard them talking, and they show him on the ride home, and he's crying. And he pulls off to a bar.
That scene is so sad.
And who's the bartender but the ever hilarious Danny DeVito as bartender Tommy. And this is sort of something that we find is that Robert De Niro, Terry Brothers, does go to bartender Tommy throughout the film to sort of pick his brain on really different aspects of life.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny DeVito has lived a life as this character. He, grew up in a boxcar, and it was just like baby. He was a boxcar baby, and then he was a trained kid riding the rails, which sounds really cool, and like it makes it sound romantic in the movie, but I'm sure it was a tough life. Like that sounds really hard to do at 7. And then he gets a little older. He gets a job in the city. And
he's a bartender boy.
He's a bartender boy. He's a busboy. He works his way up, and now he ends up owning this bar and bartender also tending. Yeah.
And so he's picking his brain a little bit about it. And I think bartender Tommy says something so interesting, Danny DeVito, to Robert De Niro's Terry Brothers. He said, life is what you make of it. And I think that's such a smart thing to be saying in a movie.
It is. Life is what you make of it.
And then we smash cut, new flashback.
Yep.
The wedding.
Oh my God. The wedding. Danny DeVito's wedding.
Danny DeVito's wedding. It's interesting because you think that you're going to go back to Al Pacino. Yeah, you think it's going to be Al Pacino,
Michelle Pfeiffer, maybe the parents. No.
It's Danny DeVito's. And this is very important.
DeVito. And this is because this is a clip of Danny DeVito's actual wedding to Rhea Perlman.
Yes.
And they, name her a different character in the movie, but it's footage of their actual wedding.
And it's very important in this story because she owns the graveyard where the parents are going to be buried.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why we're seeing it. Because they have the wedding in the funeral at the cemetery. They have the wedding at the cemetery.
Yep.
And it shows us, it doesn't tell us, which is very important. If you're, here's an aspiring tip for you.
Yeah, tip for all you noobs.
Tip for all the new film people out there. If you want to be writing something that's a movie, you want to do it by showing people and not telling them anything.
Show, don't tell.
Show, don't tell.
And tell. Show, don't tell.
So instead of just saying Danny DeVito saying in passing that his wife owns the cemetery, or even cutting that out entirely from the plot, a brilliant little piece of craft here is that we flash back to Danny DeVito's character's wedding, and it's at the cemetery.
And then it's like such a connection, right? Because you see Rhea Perlman, and oh my God, you're like, that's the funeral home owner. That's the same woman.
It's the same woman.
Your brain is just like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Meanwhile, pan over, and we're panning over all the way to a country club where at the same time, Stevie Sisters is marrying Martha Brothers' soon-to-be sisters, Terry Brothers, Robert De Niro's sister.
Yeah. Yeah. And what a shindig. My God. What a shindig. It's like the champagne is just flowing. The people are dancing. It's a regular bash.
It's a bash. But over in the corner, of course, is, of course, Terry Brothers, Bob De Niro. And he's fuming. And we see in his pocket, there's a note. And he unfolds the note. He reads it in the middle of the party. Not to anyone, just to himself. But we get to see over his shoulder. It's a reason why his sister, Martha Brothers' sister, shouldn't have married Stevie Sisters, Al Pacino, and should have married him, Terry Brothers, Robert De Niro. He still likes his sister enough to marry him, which is gross.
Which is gross. I can't believe they added that back in, because maybe that's why I like the book better. I mean, it doesn't have that in the book. But, you know, I just think it's weird. I don't think brothers and sisters should marry each other.
And in the book, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't read the book, but I did read this fast fact that the author of the book, there would be sort of these chapters in the book that were completely not connected to the story at all, and it was written in first person. The whole thing's written in third person, but it was written in first person, and it was like a guy sort of ranting about why brothers and sisters should be able to get married. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. So it kind of, yeah. It's there's something there, right? Like that theme comes up way too often for it to not be a thing. I think that the author, there's something going on there. But in the book, they don't actually get together. There's just a lot of like hullabaloo about how they can't and they should be able to.
Yeah, and there are these long sort of almost manifesto-like pages of him writing about how they should be able to get married. I want to marry my sister. Please let me marry my sister. I don't understand, Judge Joe Brown, why you won't let me marry my sister. He calls Judge Joe Brown out by name.
It's just like that Kurt Vonnegut book where the brother and sister have this like weird relationship. Did you ever read it?
Which one's that one?
I think it's Mother Night, I want to say.
Oh, I have read that one. I don't remember that being part of that book though.
Maybe it's not Mother Night then. Basically the twin, there's twin brother and sister, and they have to be close to one another, and the further away they get, the dumber they get.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know. Well, you know about Game of Thrones?
No, I've never heard of it.
And it's about brothers and sisters, and they have sex a lot too.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. That's like the olden days, right?
Yeah, so it was okay back then. And
that's for like procreation purposes. They were twins? Mm-hmm. Oh, why does that make it seem worse?
I don't know.
It makes it worse because they have the same DNA almost. Well, I guess just as much as any other brother and sister. I don't like it.
Yeah, so meanwhile, back into the... so we cut back to present day. And here comes Corey Feldman as Johnny Private Eye, a young kid detective, and he's on the case. He was hired by Stevie Sisters to find the note that the mom wrote saying to the dad that she doesn't want to be buried. She doesn't care what grave she's buried in. She wrote a note saying what doesn't matter.
Corey Feldman just crushes it in that role. I mean,
such a young guy. He's 17.
He's so good. Such a young guy. It was before he got, shitty. And he's just so good. He like sneaks in. He's like dressed as a guest. And then he comes in and he's like looking for the note. And he manages to somehow, starting conversation and just slips his hand in the pocket and grabs
the
that
mom
note.
Yeah, so the mom is wearing a wedding dress that has pockets, or no, a party dress that has pockets in it, and he's able
dresses with pockets are awesome.
Slip in the 80s, that was all the rage. They had pockets in it, and he was able to slip his hand. It's sort of like seeing a payphone in now.
Yeah.
In the 80s, they had these dresses with a lot of pockets, and he's able to slip a hand in and grab the note, which she keeps on her at all times because it is the safest place to keep it.
Yes.
She says that.
She does say that. She says that several times in the flashbacks.
Yeah, there are a lot of flashbacks of her writing the note, and then as the parents are fighting, she says to the father a lot of times, I'm keeping this note on me because it's the safest place to keep it.
Because you'll never get it.
You'll never get it. So this is basically proof that she doesn't care which grave she's burying, and she only wants to do it to kind of stick it to the dad.
Well, because she's mad, right? And
she's
she has
pissed.
a right to be mad. I mean, she has a right to be mad. He broke her trust, and that's a huge thing. He
broke her trust by, of course, sleeping with her sister, which, of course, is Al Pacino's aunt.
Mother. Oh, aunt. That's right.
Aunt.
Who?
Sylvia Sisters.
Yes.
So we're having all these people are having sex with each other all
And
over
it's
the
pretty
continuum.
incestual, actually. The movie, now that I'm thinking about it, in retrospect, I didn't realize how incestual it was.
Well, Sarah, I actually do have a fast fact here, a fun film fact, fast fact from
What is it?
xfinity.com/film blog,
What
which
is
is,
it?
of course, the blog that I use to get these fast facts.
Right,
The
right, right.
tagline for this movie was, of course, Brothers-in-Law, is it so wrong?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the tagline.
Yeah.
I didn't see the commercials.
Yeah, because we weren't alive then.
No, we weren't alive.
But anyway, so are you thinking about whether or not you were?
No, I was genuinely trying to think of what year it was.
88, so...
Well, I wasn't alive in
Yeah,
88,
you weren't
but I was
alive.
trying to think of what year it was now, if it had been
yeah, it's 2021
established.
now.
It's 2021. Okay, I didn't know if it was like 1989.
Doesn't it feel like it's been like 10 years already?
Yes, it
Kind
does.
of? Yeah,
yes.
a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Corey Feldman, Johnny Private Eye, the kid detective, has the note in his possession. He brings it to Stevie sisters, who
Yes.
now he's faced with a very big choice.
Yes.
Does he use the note, and does he ruin the relationship of the parents, thus ruining his own relationship with Robert De Niro, Terry Brothers, and his wife, Martha Brothers' sister's Michelle Pfeiffer, Terry Brothers' sister?
Everything would come crashing down, right? Like, this is his whole life. This is his, he's known these people since childhood.
And now he's about to put twist the knife in the dad's
Now he's
heart.
about to twist the knife in the dad's heart. And the mom, everything about this is like, it's
crazy.
just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And if anyone
But
was
it's
wondering,
so funny.
it's hilarious.
It's so funny.
And if anyone was, well, there's one scene in particular, I think, where Danny DeVito is getting married and he's kissing Rita Perlman. And of course, you mentioned that this was real footage. So this actually happened in real life. He steps off the stage onto a banana peel, slips, falls, and breaks his butt on the wine glass that he's supposed to smash because it's Rita Perlman's Jewish wedding.
Yes, it's Rhea Perlman's Jewish wedding, and he was supposed to break the glass, and they were all supposed to cheer and clap.
Yeah.
And he broke his butt on the glass, and he literally broke his butt. He broke his coccyx, and then he had to go to the ER the night of his wedding. He wasn't able to celebrate. It was just a whole thing, and they put this whole thing in the movie. They show clips from the hospital, and it's not really related to the scene. But I think they just wanted to show,
not tell,
everything wrapped
which of
up.
course is a tip that we need to keep in mind if we're
not
a young
tell. Yeah,
filmmaker.
you're a young
we want to show.
filmmaker. Not
so instead of just telling everyone that Danny DeVito actually slipped on a banana peel, smashed his butt on a wine glass at the wedding, you show the whole thing. It doesn't matter how long the movie is.
So Danny DeVito, the bartender, he also has a really interesting gait. Like he walks a little off.
Yeah.
And it's because he was injured so badly in that accident. And I think they want to just make sure they tell you how that happened. They don't want to tell you. They want to show you. They want to show you. They need to show you.
So anyway, Stevie Sisters goes to Terry Brothers, Robert De Niro's house. He says, "Look, I got this note. Why don't we figure something out together?"
Yeah.
A storm is happening. It's making the cemetery really muddy, and they go to the cemetery, 2 shovels, and guess what they do?
Oh, I mean, I know what they do.
They make it one big hole.
They make it one big hole. They do the whole, Actually, I guess it's not. I was gonna say it's like, we'll cut the baby in half, but it's actually the opposite.
It's putting 2 babies together.
Put 2 babies together, and they give one to each. And I think that was a pretty beautiful moment.
It was so beautiful. So they're digging it out, and they're digging out the hole, and Martha's brother's sisters, Michelle Pfeiffer, Terry Brothers' sister, Stevie Sisters, Al Pacino's wife, comes to the cemetery, and she sees what they're doing, and she says, "Wow, I can't believe this is happening. You guys figured it out. Follow me." They run through the cemetery after putting the 2 babies together, digging one big hole to throw the parents' corpses in after they die. They run down to the woods, and guess where they go? Full circle ending.
The creek.
They're back at the old creek. And now is time for them to cross the creek. Can they do it? The rain is flying down. The creek is so old, and it's also so flooded, engorged.
And it's so much older now because it's,
it's years later, so it's an even older creek than it was before. It's engorged with water. They just finished digging out the holes.
The storm is just, the thunder, the lightning, it's just, water is everywhere.
And Terry Brothers, Robert De Niro, Martha Brothers' sister's brother, Michelle Pfeiffer's brother in the movie, he looks up. He doesn't think that they can cross the creek, but guess who's there? It's freaking Danny DeVito, bartender Tommy, who before this was swept away in this storm out to sea, and he died. So he comes back as a ghost.
That part is so unexpected, and I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of the book, actually. And they do a really good job of capturing the same thing in the movie.
In the movie,
yeah. Yeah.
In the book, is he almost saved by a pack of dolphins?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same
but then
thing.
They decide
dolphins,
that he tastes too
but they
good
decide to eat him. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, same thing in the book. And I actually love that because that's so true to how dolphins are. People don't know that, but dolphins are vicious, vicious animals. They'll eat you right up.
Well,
They're
if you taste the right way,
jokes and games. If you taste the right way, or if you're actively bleeding, they'll eat you right up. They'll eat you right up. So then they eat. Yeah. So in the movie they eat him right up, but he comes back as a ghost, and it's just like so amazing to see as a ghost, and he still has his weird gait, and he saves the day. Danny DeVito saves the day.
He inspires Terry Brothers, Robert De Niro, Martha Brothers' sister's brother, Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie's brother, to send Michelle Pfeiffer over the creek to make it complete, because she was the one who crossed the creek at the beginning. She needs to be the one to cross the creek at the end. She is on the log, and guess what happens? The freaking log snaps in half. She goes into the engorged creek, and Terry Brothers, Martha Brothers' sisters, Michelle Pfeiffer's brother in the movie, he looks at Stevie Sisters and he says, "It's your turn." And Stevie Sisters, who was so mad at Robert De Niro for saving his sister, jumps into the creek, saves his wife. They go to court that night, and Judge Joe Brown dismisses the case. The parents are so happy they get back together, and then there's another wedding scene at the end.
Yes. And Danny DeVito, the ghost, is the officiant.
And he's the officiant, yes.
Yeah, and Rhea Perlman is,
alive.
grieving, but she is there, and she's supportive of the, marriage. Oh, I mean, they never actually got divorced either, so they just were getting their vows renewed.
Yeah, they're renewing their vows.
Renewing their vows.
And a little sequel bait here, and I don't know if they do this in the book. You'll have to tell me, Sarah. A little sequel bait. Sylvania Sisters.
Yes.
Who's Stevie Sisters' sister, Al Pacino in the movie Sister, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, comes into the wedding and she says, "Boys, I'm here." And Robert De Niro turns around and locks
and goes,
eyes with this freaking pair of legs and goes, "Va-va-voom." He says that.
He does. And we know that it's his sister because we saw her in the flashbacks of the wedding.
It's Al Pacino's sister, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just clearly they're teeing it up for a second movie. They do that in the book too. That's exactly how the book ends. It goes ba-ba-boom.
And then that's period. And of course, another fast fact from Xfinity.com/filmblog. They couldn't ever make a sequel because, unfortunately, both Peter Peters, the director, and George Allen's, the writer, died.
Yes. Oh
and funnily enough, and this is sort of a little bit of Hollywood lore, they both died by being swept out to sea by a storm, and they were both eaten by the same pack of dolphins.
Yes. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that kind of like eerie? Like
it's like, yeah.
It's like so eerie. It's like they like predicted their own deaths.
It's almost like that Paul Walker was driving a car in the movies and then he dies in a car. It's the same thing.
It's exactly like that.
It's literally the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. I wish I could think of another example, but that's a perfect example.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. I don't have one. Or
I don't have
okay,
one
here's
either.
one. It's almost like Brandon Lee is getting shot in The Crow, and he gets shot in real life.
Yeah. Oh,
It's the same thing.
but he didn't get shot in real life, right?
Yeah, he did by accident.
Oh, he did?
With they fired a gun that was supposed to be blanks, and it
Oh,
wasn't
I
blanks, and
didn't
he got
know
shot and
that.
killed. Yeah.
Oh
So it's the same
my
thing.
God. I was trying to pretend like I knew what you were talking about, and I had no idea. But then I
Yeah.
was like, well, now I got to look this up.
So you can look it up and yeah, you can look it up. You see it's real.
No,
But
I
anyway,
believe
so
you.
Sarah, out of 10 stars, tell me what you give this
Oh,
movie.
I did know this. Wait, you said, okay, because you said Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
I think
Bruce
of it
Lee.
as
No, Bruce Lee did
Lee.
not die that way. Brandon Lee died that way.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Got it.
Cursed is apparently what they say about
Cursed.
him. He was cursed.
Oh my God, you know who else is cursed? The Kennedys. Do you know? Have you ever
Yes.
gotten deep down that hole? It's
Yeah.
like crazy how
They
far
all
it
die.
goes. They all die, but they all die like tragically and young, and like it just continues.
Well, it's because, and I think this is correct. The oldest Kennedy, the patriarch of the family, I think his name is Joe Kennedy. He was a bootlegger, and he got a Italian curse put on him.
Yes, that's true. It was Italian.
May all your meatballs run cold. May all your
And
children
then-
die.
Yeah. And it was
And
like
then-
both things became
Yeah.
true.
His meatballs were forever cold, and all his children died horrible,
It
terrible
was
deaths.
so sad. So sad.
Out of 10 stars, Sarah, what would
Yes.
you give Brothers-in-Law?
I would give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of
I thought it
10.
was really good.
Now, the book, what would you give it?
I mean, it's one of my favorite books. So if I can give it a 10, I'll give it a 10. 10 out
10.
of 10.
So 10 out of 10
Yeah.
for the book, 9 out of 10 for the movie. I give
Yeah.
this a 8.5, and that's only because I think that they could have done the makeup for Danny DeVito Ghost better, because they just put a sheet over him and wrote
That
his
was
name on it.
lazy. I think they were trying to be like ironic or something. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. That was a lazy move.
In which case, it is smart in a way, because irony, of course, was only invented like 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
in 1988, there was no
no one
concept
was
of it.
ironic before 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
like there's no way that they would have even known what it was. So it is pretty groundbreaking in that sense, but
It's
I just
jarring.
think it was a little lazy. Yeah, it was a little jarring. It didn't fit in with the rest of the movie.
not at all.
Because the costume design in the rest of the movie is amazing.
So I got to knock
But-
off, unfortunately, a 0.75 for that. And so you gave the movie 9, you gave the
Yep.
book 10,
Yep.
and I gave it an 8.75
Yep.
divided by 3. So this movie has a 9.25 out of 10 stars.
Do we use the book rating?
We throw the book rating
okay.
into, yeah.
Okay.
That's how we do it.
I didn't know
here.
that's how you calculated it.
No, everything related to the film that we experienced is going to be part of the rating.
Because
Because it's all
Thank
one
you for
story.
showing me.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing me how it's done.
Yes, I will show you how it's done by explaining you how the podcast works. And speaking of showing you how it's done, we're going to do a little game before we go here. This is called the movie Island.
Okay.
You're stuck on a desert island,
Okay.
and you have a Blu-ray. You have a blue.
Oh God, don't be nervous.
I'm so nervous. Brendan was so mean to me last episode. Brendan was so mean to me last episode, and so
That
this was
sounds
going
like
so well, and
Brennan.
I
He's a
flubbed the
big-
line.
He's a big meanie.
Listen to the episode when it comes out, Sarah. He was so mean to me.
He's so mean.
He was so mean to me. It was insane how mean he was. And
Sorry.
I was right about something, and then I was right about something, and he was wrong.
Yeah.
But on the episode, it looks like I'm wrong.
Oh,
So that makes me mad. I've been thinking about it every day.
that's classic Brendan.
It's classic Brendan. He
a
always
classic-
thinks he's right.
That's a classic boy move to just insist that you're right until someone lets you believe it.
And now I know what women have been complaining about for
I think
generations,
you know
and I am an
everything
ally.
women have been through. Yeah.
Everything they've been
Thank you for
through,
saying
everything they
that.
go through on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
because Brendan thought I was using
Was mean
Chekhov's
to
gun
you.
wrong.
But you were using it right.
Yes, he thought Ripley in Alien wasn't an example of Chekhov's gun when she drives the parachute, but it is.
And he was wrong. He was wrong. And you look foolish, but that's because he's a big meanie.
But I will have the last laugh because when I post the episode, I'm going to absolutely fucking destroy his ass.
Yeah. Put a whole thing up top where you tell the whole tale.
He's going to be like Danny DeVito's butt on that wine glass. I'm going to wreck his ass.
Oh my God. Poor Danny
You just
DeVito.
watch. Just wait. And Brendan, if you're listening, just fucking wait. Even though the episode's already out.
I just texted him. I just told him.
Good. I fucking bring it, is what I say.
He said you were still wrong.
Okay, well, he can look at the freaking wiki and tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay, I'll tell him.
So this is Cinema Island, and you are on the desert island, and you have a Blu-ray player. You can only pick 2 movies to watch back to back.
Okay.
Everything else is the same. You have the same amount of food, and all your friends are there too, but you only get 2 movies to watch for the rest of your life on the deserted cinema island.
Oh, okay. So that was going to be my follow-up question because I love to ask follow-up questions about these games. So you can watch it more than once.
You can watch both movies. Yeah, you are watching both movies. Those are the only movies you have. But everything else is the same. You still have all your friends. You still have your food. You still have fresh water.
Perfect.
Everything's the same. So don't take that into account.
I already got it. Bridesmaids and Easy A.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
So Bridesmaids is an Easy A, and what's the other film?
Oh, I have 3?
No. Oh, I thought you said Bridesmaids is an Easy A. Is Easy A a movie?
Yes, Easy A is a movie with Emma Stone.
It's
like a
Scarlet Letter.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I get it now.
Yep. Or Crazy Stupid Love. One of those 2.
And that's Steve Carell.
That's Steve Carell and Emma Stone. And
what's that hot guy's
what's his name? That hot boy.
Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
Is he in it?
You knew it. Don't pretend you didn't know.
No, I actually didn't. Well, I was like, is it Ryan
Reynolds
Reynolds or is it Ryan Gosling? And then
Ryan Gosling. Ryan Reynolds is hot, but Ryan Gosling is definitely way more attractive.
Yeah, I landed on
objectively.
Gos.
Yeah, Gos.
I don't have any opinion on that though, because of course I am a complete straight on the Kinsey scale. I've never had a thought like that in my entire life. Anyway, Sarah, thank you so much for joining the podcast. It was so much fun to talk about brothers-in-law.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so
glad we could talk about our mutual love for this movie.
It was such a beautiful film, and we loved it so much. And if you out there have a film that you want us to talk about, please feel free to email the title of the film to forgottenfilmspodcast@gmail.com, or you can even freaking DM me on Twitter, and it's @filmspodcasts. And yeah, I did get the handle. It's very expensive.
I can't believe you finally joined Twitter.
Yeah, well, I've been on Twitter personally, but I've joined Twitter for the podcast, and I got this handle, and it cost me, and this is something Brendan was mean about to me in the last episode, it cost me so much money.
Well, is that real? How much did it cost you?
It cost me $650 because I'm using, well, this is going to justify.
That was all your money.
Well, I had $1,000 that I got from my ex-girlfriend's parents.
Yeah.
And I bought a $350 limited edition podcast mic that was signed by all of the Johns from Pod Save America, and I'm using it right now, as you can see.
Right. Oh, Favreau, I see it. Okay.
All the Johns and the Dan and the Tommy, I think, is the other one's name. I can't really read it. I think it's his name.
I think it's Tommy Gunn.
It's all signed. It's Tommy Gunn Vitor.
Yeah, that's his middle name.
And so I had $650 left over, and this guy was sitting on his Twitter, and he had a podcast, a films podcast, but he gave up. So he wanted to sell it. So I was like, I'll buy it for $650. And Brendan was like, that's too much money. And I said, listen, once this podcast gets bought by Conan to be the next podcast, you are going to be so mad and be eating your words.
Yeah. Let me text him that.
Yeah, text him. Tell him that. Tell him Simon says when Conan buys the podcast and I become the next podcast, he's going to be eating his freaking words.
Okay.
Because I am going to become next podcast, and he's going to see, and Conan and me are going to go, and we're going to go on vacation.
He already answered. He just sent a picture of you as a baby. Why does he have this? He has a picture of you as a baby.
I don't know why he has that, but we'll see you next week.